Today's liturgy from the Book of Wisdom, the responsorial psalm, letter to Philemon, and the Gospel has got a very special theme that Jesus' message, the Gospel message is total dedication. Total dedication. And that we ourselves are not capable of doing that. Total commitment following. So Jesus sets before us in this teaching two invitation to anyone who does not hate his own family or doesn't take up the cross and follow is not worthy to follow. Let's go to the first reading from the Book of Wisdom. Who can discern what the Lord wills? What man can learn the counsel of God? Or who can discern the Lord's will? For the reasoning of the mortals is worthless, and our designs are likely to fail. For a perishable body weighs down the soul, and this earthly tent burdens the thoughtful mind. And this reading is Book of Wisdom, teaching us comparing with the human wisdom and God's wisdom. So we very well understand our wisdom. Our human wisdom is not some understanding or knowledge, little knowledge that we have learned. It is not. God's wisdom is far superior to any of our human understanding, human wisdom. And therefore, it says, comparing this, who can understand God's plan? Who is able to the plan, the counsel of God more and more in our life? That is why in this beautiful psalm, very beautifully says, make us know the shortness of our life, that we may gain wisdom of heart. We may gain wisdom of heart. A life is short. So in this short life, we live in this world, we struggle, go through life for our own existence, supporting our families. Then we also think about God, what is God? The beautiful prayer, Our Father, Jesus taught, thy will be done, learning to do God's will in our life. So the wisdom that we need to acquire is God's wisdom. So it is a process. It's a life journey of following God in commitment, in understanding God's plan. Every day we need to learn, discern that plan in our life. That is why the readings are connected to them. Also in the second reading, letter to the Philemon. This is the only reading. Philemon is the shortest letter, only one chapter, one short letter of St. Paul. It is written personally to a person. Others are written to the community of Romans, Corinthians, letter to the Philippians and so on, Galatians. They are all communities. Whereas this is a letter written to one person, individual, and this is Philemon is a very big person, a Christian follower of, also a friend of Paul. He had a slave called Onesimus. Onesimus ran away, maybe because of ill treatment or some harsh treatment by the master Philemon. He ran away. But then now if he go back, he will be punished, or he can be, according to the Roman law or things that can be imprisoned or punished. But meantime, this Onesimus meet St. Paul in Rome. And he is converted, and he knows the story, and he says, he is sending this letter with Onesimus to go back to Philemon, to accept him not as a slave, but as a true brother. So the transformation is taking place. From a slave to a Christian who has become. Both are Christians, both are followers of Jesus. So here, Philemon is asked to change his life, to accept Onesimus as his own brother brother in Christ. So that is the transformation is plaguing. That is how Paul making us all brothers and sisters of one another in Christ Jesus. So there is a change that is taking place, growing in wisdom, growing in understanding. And coming to this gospel passage, it is these sayings of Jesus and two small parables, parable of the contractor building a tower or an army, a king going to war. This is only mentioned in St. Luke's gospel. And this is also what Jesus is giving us, total commitment, totally following Jesus, not half-heartedly. So today, in the context of the two canonization, two young person, two teenagers, what they have done in their life is simple commitment, totally committed to give their life to God, to Jesus. And today they are declared saints, saints in our church, saints of examples that we can follow in our life. One was a person who is a computer young boy, but what he did was to promote devotion to the Holy Eucharist. Devotion to the Holy Eucharist. And he spread through his life great devotion, love for the Eucharist. He daily attended the Eucharist, and that made him a great saint, a total follower, committed person to follow. Another person, Giorgio, he was a very young person, very active sports person, but he was giving his life in service of the poor, feeding the poor, helping the sick, looking after that. With that, totally committed to follow Jesus. And today, they are both saints. That is, we are called in our life. Today, what is our life? What is our Christian life? How much is our commitment, dedication to following Jesus? Life is more than earthly life existence. Following Christ is not just enough to go to church and pray and so on, saying prayers, but it's something more deeper. And in these passages, growing in wisdom, committing our life to God, giving our life to God in service, not only just offering our life, but in the service of lesser fortunate, poor people, sick people, whom we are. Today, the challenge more and more is, how much of our time, energy is gone to in social media. I'm just giving for example, how many hours and hours all of us spend time in the mobiles and telephones and watching internet. So following of Christ is not internet. Following of Jesus, Christian life is not in this mobile, this world, social media. So just one example, how much of our time and energy. So that's what Jesus says, if you are following, unless you give up some of these things, you are not worthy in your following. Unless you carry the cross. What are our daily crosses in our daily life? Where do our commitment? Somebody said, the size of our God is the size of our worry and our problems. If we have plenty of problem means our God is very, very small. If we can surrender all our problems and difficulties and crosses to God, then definitely our God is great. Our faith is great. Our following will be great. So that is what Jesus wants. Our commitment, our following must be total and dedicated, not losing our interest on our life journeys, for the family interests, concerns and problems and difficulties that we face on our way. Let us entrust ourselves, let us renew our commitment like Paul and Philemon, what Jesus is challenging us to accept, grow in the wisdom and in the knowledge, understanding of our life, our Christian vocation, to follow Jesus more in dedication and in sacrifice.